It took a lot for me to come out and talk about the things that I mention on my YouTube channel. I ended up losing a lot of people along the way. And one in particular I remember specifically, it was that moment that made me realize that I was going to lose a bunch of close friends. You see, everyone has this feeling, this knowing that if they start opening their mouths and discussing a lot of the things that they're into, then they're going to get some sideways glances, you know. People aren't quite going to look at them the same way ever again. And I remember on this particular day, I came back from the town and I'm at my computer and I'm looking over at some of the recordings that I did. At the time, I was nervous to be on YouTube, and so I would just record videos, stories about things I would get up to behind closed doors, just for myself. You know, it was my way of giving myself permission, feeling comfortable with the idea of recording on camera. As long as I get to see it and no one else, then I'm okay with recording. And so I'm looking over some of the new footage of my latest astral projection, and I'm discussing shadow beings. I hear a knock on my door, and it's my childhood friend, Peter. Peter comes in, and he's discussing his day, and all I can think about is last night's astral projection experience. You know, when you're trying to listen, but you just don't quite... My mind was elsewhere, and after he had said everything that he wanted to say, I started telling him. I worked myself up to it internally, and I think for a moment, stupid moment, that maybe he would be open to listening. And I say to him, hey, last night I ended up encountering what the internet is calling a shadow being. He had a hood, and I had an altercation with it. He looked at me and took a few steps back, and then started to mention the jinn. At the time, he had converted to Muslim. And so, on a regular basis, he was told to stay away from the hidden things in the unseen realm. That's what the word jinn means, the hidden. And so, clearly, he had worked up some fear already prior my conversation, and I had scared the crap out of him at the very mention of a jinn. You know. He said, one moment, I'm just going to use the bathroom. Left my bedroom, and then I heard him go down the stairs, and I watched him leave my house from my window. I never saw him again. He was gone. This is someone that I regularly met up with on a daily basis. Someone that I would consider my friend. I knew his family, I knew his friends, and because of that, his friends became my close friends. Not a whisper, not a phone call, not a message, nothing. He just disappeared, vanished out of my life. This was someone that I really thought would hang around. Okay? And so, my friends started to fall away. Some of them couldn't understand at all. Some of them didn't even try to understand. Some of them just said that I was going crazy and that everything was in my head. That I was just dreaming everything. I was just dreaming up the things I would see in my room, the ghostly figures, the shadow beings, and a lot of the interactions that would soon follow after an out-of-body experience. Apparently I was just making it all up. Even my twin brother thought that I was just dreaming for at least 4 years, until I made DMT and gave him some. Then he realized that my world was pretty real. Okay, and so why am I telling you this story? Well, if you're gonna get into occult practices, and don't freak out when I say the word occult, a lot of people have a negative connotation towards that term. Occult literally just means hidden. You do many things in secret. but it's gotten a bad rap over the decades. When you mention anything dealing with the occult, of course, because of its reputation, people are going to flee. Okay, and so if you're going to get into tarot, pendulums, crystals, divination, astral projection, and other forms of esoteric practices, people are going to look at you strange. And you've kind of got to figure out whether or not it's worth it. To me, it's worth it. All right, I'm not going to sit here and say that I wish he had stuck around. Perhaps if I had just suppressed my curiosity of all things strange, that maybe he would stay. No, because then it would feel like I was suffocating and probably dying on the inside, and I can't do that. If it's at the cost of being you, be you anyway, right? Eventually, new people will show up and fill in those gaps. It might take a while. You might have to put yourself out there. You might have to go to a few retreats, a few workshops, a few meditation classes. You might have to go to the places where like-minded individuals will meet you. But eventually, as long as you don't stay still, you will find a new circle of friends. You know, as time goes on, I've come to realize that you will change. Because you're going to be interested in different things. I mean, if you think about it, what binds a friendship in the beginning is familiarity, it's relation, right? You're doing the same things pretty much, and so you become friends. And over a certain period of time, you bond with your friends, usually because you're going through things that are quite scary. It's psychologically proven that if you're in a dire circumstance with somebody, you'll actually build a stronger connection with that somebody. And so if you imagine being a kid and throwing things at buses, probably trespassing on properties that you shouldn't quite be trespassing on, it's scary. And you bond with this individual for life. Or so it seems, right? But don't forget, what brought you two together in the first place was relation. And so as your hobbies start to change, the people that you're drawn to will be different. They'll reflect the thing that that is occupying your time. And then, as you start to do more courageous things with these individuals, you'll bond with these new friends as well. Hopefully, the frontal cortex of your brain hasn't developed enough to the point where you stop doing scary things. Of course, when we're children, it hasn't quite developed yet, and so we're more likely to do crazy stuff with individuals, building stronger connections. It's harder to build that connection as an adult because normally we second guess a lot of things. You know, should we go kayaking? Should we jump into that waterfall? Should we go skateboarding down that road? We might hurt ourselves. We start to have these intellectual thoughts, you know, the blockages of an adult's brain. But it doesn't mean that you can't try. It doesn't mean that you can't muster up a little bit of courage and actually put yourself in situations where you can bond with like-minded individuals. And if you're aware of this pattern of events, the sequence of events, and what it leads to, you can deliberately put yourself in situations by which will help you connect to individuals. Making a lot of friends. You ever see those people who make a ton of friends so fast? There's no reason as to why you can't do that. Other than your current story. You know, the things that you think about, what you say, your internal dialogue that stops you from speaking to an individual, or even considering the fact that you could bond to a stranger. You know, if not to the same degree as your previous friends, then somewhat similar. Why not just have a little bit of a bond, right? Rather than being lonely. And so, just know that there will be an adjustment period as you start to rearrange your life. People will come in, they'll be spat back out, you know, by things that you say and or do. But what's great is that the ones that love you the most will hang around. And I'm not just saying that because it sounds relieving, right? It sounds nice. The reality is that those who still yearn a heartfelt connection with you won't let something like an esoteric venture get in the way of your connection, your bond with this individual. They more than likely saw you grow up, and so they probably saw you change into different shades of yourself and hung around the entire time. And so they're used to seeing you change, and they're used to kind of playing the different songs, or at least having a part in the many versions of you and how you express yourself. If anything, they'll more than likely be excited about these new things that you do, that you practice. And if they're apprehensive, if they're worried, if they're scared, then they'll be open to listening. Maybe, not in the beginning, maybe. But that doesn't mean that they're going to suddenly stop answering your calls. They'll still be there, listening, watching, until eventually they muster up the courage to actually speak to you and address the many things that otherwise would have freaked them out in private. You know, like watching you online, thinking, what is he doing? It's kind of weird. Maybe I'll put some distance between me and him. After some days, weeks, months, and years, it's, oh, you know what? A lot of people are looking at what he's doing. I'm going to bring it up in a conversation. I'm going to message my friend. I haven't seen him in years. And now you're talking to him. Okay? Speaking from experience, they do come back. They are interested in what you're doing if you matter. All right? If you don't matter as much as their fear, as much as what they're worried about happening, then they will let you go in favor of what matters the most to them, which might be safety, okay? It might be security, mentally. Security in knowing that how things are is proper, is right, is correct for them, all right? Their way of living, their way of seeing the world and the things that happen. They function around a framework of ideas and belief systems, and that framework is keeping them safe, and it's making them feel safe. If you impose a different belief system, if you start changing the framework of their reality, they might be a little freaked out, all right? And so give them space to breathe, some room to adapt to you, and don't try to force yourself onto your friends in the hopes that they're going to stick around, because that will just push them away even more, because they're only going to be more afraid of the thing that's putting them off of you in the first place. All right? Now, I know that me going into this topic so far sounds terrifying. It doesn't sound like what I'm talking about here is very safe or love and light or just approachable. But the idea of the occult freaks people out. It's hidden, and therefore it's unknown. And whatever you don't know, well, most people are afraid of the unknown. Me, I get excited. Possibilities. Yeah, there could be something lurking behind a door, but there also could be aliens. There could be other realities. There could be me flying out into space with astral projection. There is so much that you could potentially be cutting yourself off of if you let fear win you over and dictate the course of your life. And so, this has been your potential. Fair warning, if you're going to speak about what you're into, just take it easy and expect people to disappear. And if you don't want to spend a long period of time being alone, put yourself out there and make new friends. I'm Ryan James Cropper. This has been your potential. Subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll speak to you pretty soon. Take care. Peace.